Alejandro, is the camera on?
Yep, it's working.
Okay. Welcome to Kid Church Online News. I am Austin Odette, reporting live from Stunbeck, Canada. Hey, up there. Oh, hey, do you kids ever watch the news? Hey? Well, sometimes we have bad news, but we have some very best news. Do you know what it is?
I do. It's Jesus.
Yes, Jesus. Oh, and it doesn't matter how much bad news we have, because we always have the very best news. Hey? Bad news, but a good God. Hey, kids, do you know what we're going to have on Kid Church Online today?
I know.
Alejandro, I'm doing a news report now.
Oh, okay.
We are going to have Bible story about Joseph. We have prayer time, memory verse, and we're going to need paper and a pen, eh? So you'll need that as well. And you know what else we have?
Some silly stuff.
Enjoy! You know what makes the news? Stuff that just isn't normal. Would anyone even watch the news if it were just about normal stuff?
In the news today, Mabel did normal stuff in her normal house with her normal family. More about that later.
I don't think so. We want to see things that are different, things we wouldn't expect, things that seem impossible, because that is amazing. Like, take for example, Alejandro. Okay, Alejandro seems to be having fun at his birthday party, and that makes sense because most birthday parties are fun. So that wouldn't make the news because that's kind of normal. Now Alejandro looks scared, which makes sense because he is in a scary place. So that's normal enough. Now here it looks amazing. That is what I call news because he's smiling, and how can anyone be smiling in a scary place like that? Do you know that it's in the worst of times that we best see how amazing God is? It's easy to be happy in the happy times and sad or scared in those hard times. But the only way that we can still be loving and peaceful and hopeful in those scary hard times is with Jesus. Only Jesus can help us. And that's the kind of news I love best. Bad news, but a good God. Today's Bible story might sound like some bad news getting worse by the minute, but this is where we can see God as most amazing because He does the impossible.
It's Sunday, October 25th. The year is 1520 BC, and this is KCOL News.
In today's news, a shocking story of crime, injustice, and a man who lived to tell about it.
It felt pretty bad.
And stay tuned for an emergency warning on the weather forecast.
Good morning from the Studio 57 newsroom here at KCOL headquarters in Canaan. My name is Caleb Duickson, and it is good to be with you. Fear and grief following the betrayal of this young man by his older brothers. Joseph, a man whose only crime was to tell his dreams to his older brothers, was thrown into a pit and sold into slavery by these same men. We have Manikta Sorsason on the field covering this top story.
Thank you, Caleb. I'm here with one of Joseph's brothers, asking him why they sold their younger brother into slavery.
He told us about some dreams he had.
Well, there you have it. Joseph, a man sold into slavery by his own brothers after having done nothing but tell them his dreams. We suspect jealousy at the heart of the matter. When asked again what he thought his brother Joseph's life would be like as a slave in Egypt, his reply was,
No comment.
Guilt renders him speechless. We then found Joseph working for the man Potiphar, and we were able to secure an interview with the man Potiphar while Joseph was busy working.
Potiphar, Your slave Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, and sold into slavery. Now, as a slave, he's away from his family in a country that he doesn't even know the language. So, this must affect his work. He must be depressed and not doing a very good job. So, I ask you, why do you keep him around?
Joseph? Oh no, he's my best worker. He's so trustworthy, he's in charge of my whole house. I trust him with everything.
You've heard it here. I'm Nick DeZorsi, reporting to you live, KCOL News. Back to you, Caleb.
Incredible. Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers, is doing good work with a good attitude, so much so that he's even risen to the top and is in charge of Potiphar's whole household.
Now this is definitely not normal. That's why it makes the news. Normal is we get sad when people are not nice to us. But what these guys did was downright mean. Normal is we get very sad when we feel lost or alone for even one day. But Joseph, his whole life would be away from family now. Normal is we would complain if we feel sad and are working at even a normal job. But Joseph, he was a slave, and that was the worst kind of job. And yet, in all that sadness and hard work, Joseph did such a good job with a good attitude that he got promoted to being in charge of Potiphar's entire household. That's not normal. That seems impossible. That's when we see how amazing God is in someone's life. Bad news, but a good God. I want God to do amazing things in my life. How about you?
I wonder which way I should go. Should I go this way or should I go that way? I'm not sure. One way might get pretty hard, but the other way might get me lost. Some ways can look like pretty bad news, so I'm hoping to take a good way. Do you ever wonder which way to go? Well, there is one way that we can all know for sure. Even if we're not sure which way to go, we can know how to go on our way. And that comes from our new memory verse. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. In all your ways. So whichever way we want to go, we can acknowledge Him. Oh, wait a minute. That's certainly a big word. Acknowledge Him. Well, I have a super trick to show you that word. You see, in all your ways, know Him. I want to know Jesus in all my ways. So if I go this way or if I go that way, I want to know Jesus in all my ways. If I go this way and meet up with some bad news, or if I go that way and find it really hard, there is still good news in whichever way I go if I know Jesus in all my ways. Let's say that verse again together, but this time with actions. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. I didn't tell you where it's found, did I? That's the cool thing about it. It's Proverbs 3 verse 6, the verse that follows the one we already memorized. Do you remember? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6. Well, now I'm not too worried about which way I'm going to take because I'm going to trust the Lord with all my heart, whether I get good news or bad news. And I will acknowledge Him in whatever way I take. Bad news? Good God. That's the real good news, so I'm going that way. See you later.
News, weather, sports.
Hey girls, what are you guys up to?
We're playing news reporters.
Lexi, what is with the crazy hair?
I'm the weather reporter and I was reporting a tornado.
Well, besides the tornado story, I hope you have some good news for us.
A tornado is the best news.
What? Tornadoes aren't good news.
No, but what makes it special is that we can acknowledge God even in a tornado.
Right, just like our memory verse says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him in all you do, even in a tornado.
Oh, that's the best news of all, that we can count on God even in bad news.
Maybe you guys have some real news you can share with us. News that makes you feel mad, or sad, or happy.
Yeah, we should play news reporter together.
Yeah.
So we will each draw the emotions that our news makes us feel, and then we'll share them with each other and acknowledge God in each of our situations.
So like, my real news is about something that happened at school that made me feel sad. So would I draw a sad emoji?
Yeah, so you draw a sad face, and then we'll come together and we'll share each of our news together.
I know what I'm gonna draw. Me too.
Oh, perfect. Come on, let's go.
There was so much bad news in Joseph's life, but that becomes good news when we know Jesus is in it. Joseph's life might sound like some bad news getting worse by the minute, but that's when we can see God as most amazing because He does the impossible right inside our hearts. Like I said, it's in the worst of times that we can best see how amazing God is. Does that mean that we want bad things to happen? Nuh-uh. No way. We don't want bad things. We don't like bad things. But at the same time, I start to wonder, how is God going to be amazing in this problem this time? Do you see how we can have joy even in hard times? We get to know God more, and God can use those hard things in my life for everyone to see how amazing He is. Bad news, but a good God. And that's the kind of news that I love best.
Welcome back to KCOL News. We will now turn it over to sports with Brock Peterson reporting.
Thank you, Caleb. Earlier today, we saw fierce misplay and misconduct in baseball. Potiphar's wife was at the mound when Joseph was up to bat. She struck him out using what was later tested to be a trick ball. Oh, the lies and deceit. Definitely not good sportsmanship on her end. Instead of running the bases, Joseph ran the other way. This not only cost him the game, but his entire career in baseball was now over. Incredibly devastating for this athlete who had crawled his way from slavery to the top of his game, only to be wiped out by one foul trick.
Many of you might be wondering if this athlete is indeed the same Joseph who was sold into slavery by his brothers only to work hard and become in charge of Potiphar's whole household. And yes, indeed, it is the very same. Betrayed once by brothers, and again by his master's wife who lied about him, the lie took the worst of turns and landed Joseph in jail. We're hoping for some better news today on the golf course. Brock?
Oh, you won't be disappointed, Caleb. This same Joseph took up golfing, and he was a sure natural. His drives were so hard-hitting that he barely had to practice his putting skills. This man has more holes in one than holes were put in his Joseph coat by his brothers. He used the same strategies right here on the golf course that he used in baseball to advance him to the top of his game right there in that prison. Working hard and with a good attitude. Is that even possible after all the hits this man has faced? I wouldn't have believed it unless I had seen it with my own eyes. Mic drop. Brock Peterson, KCOL News, Sports.
What a sports update. We can certainly be proud of our Canaanite athlete. He was voted the MVP of Potiphar's household and then again MVP of the prison. You can't keep a good man down. And speaking of which, let's turn it over to politics now with Vanessa Wolmanson.
Thanks, Caleb. Two candidates are up for election, and they come from the most unlikely places, as they share a prison cell with none other than this same man, Joseph. The two men both held high office, and the one was a baker for Pharaoh, the ruler of the land, and the other was his cupbearer. No longer are they the right wing or left wing because they have both been plucked.
Plucked? This is just temporary. And I make all the bread, and I'm gonna give everyone free bread. Come on, I'm a self-made man, and Pharaoh loves me best.
And now they await their fate. Which one would be voted into office? Joseph has looked at the advanced polls through interpreting the dreams they had, and he says that the cupbearer will win this election by a landslide and will return to his position as cupbearer to Pharaoh in 3 days. And the baker, he'll be done for.
Since this earlier recording, the votes are now in, and we can confirm that Joseph's dream interpretation was correct. The cupbearer is back in office next to Pharaoh, and the baker is no more. High hopes for Joseph now that he has a friend in high places next to Pharaoh. He's sure to be let out of prison soon, and that is good news for Joseph.
Oh, if only that were true, but the cupbearer didn't even remember Joseph after he got his job back working for Pharaoh, the ruler of the land. But we know that it's in the worst of times that we can best see how amazing God is. And that is certainly true in Joseph's life. sold as a slave by his brothers, worked hard becoming in charge of Pharaoh's household, only to be lied about and thrown in prison, worked hard again in the prison, becoming in charge of the prison, only to be forgotten by the cupbearer who looked like his one chance out of there. And yet God was with him. Joseph acknowledged God in all his ways at work, his ways at being honest, and being kind, even to tell the cupbearer about his dream. That is so amazing to see God help a man to do the impossible when he keeps getting such bad news. Bad news, but a good God. I want God to be the good news in my life.
Wow, I made it! I'm so happy to be here. The path that I took had some ups and downs. It had some mountains to climb and rivers to cross. Sometimes it was really hard, and sometimes it felt lonely and scary. But I kept talking to God and trusting Him. I kept on repeating the memory verse over and over. Want to say it with me? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. Acknowledge Him. I'm so glad I remembered that trick to see the word know inside the big word, to remind me that I want to know God in all my ways. Phew! After all that walking, I need to rest here. Well, I learned something else. All our ways is not just which roads we take, but it also means all our hearts. The mad parts, the sad parts, the scared parts, and even the happy parts. I want to trust the Lord with all my heart, and I want to know Him in all my ways. The ways of the heart go in all sorts of directions, but whichever way my heart goes with its feelings, I want to know Jesus in the mad, sad, scared, and happy times. That's when bad news can really be good news, because we have a good God in every kind of news we face.
Like I said, my news was sad because at school my friend didn't want to hang out with me.
My news was mad because Scarlett broke my favorite toy. My news was scared because I had a bad dream.
Well, both of our news was happy because we love that we can bring all of our news to Jesus, all of our happy, sad, and mad news.
Maybe you have some news too. We're going to give you a moment now to draw your news with your emotions, and then we'll pray together to acknowledge God in all our ways. No matter what kind of news we have, we know that God is good, whether we're sad, mad, or happy. Hold up your feeling paper and repeat after me. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
That you love me.
That you love me.
I want to know you.
I want to know you.
In all my ways and all my news.
In all my ways and all my news.
In the sad or mad news.
In the sad or mad
In the
news.
scared and happy news.
In the scared and happy news.
Help me to trust in you.
Help me to trust in you.
Because you are my best news.
Because you are my best news.
Amen.
Amen.
Maybe you guys at home can do a news report time with your own family too. Share some of your news.
Thanks for praying with us.
It's in the worst of times that we can best see how amazing God is. And that is certainly true in Joseph's life. sold as a slave by his brothers, worked hard becoming in charge of Pharaoh's household, only to be lied about and thrown in prison, worked hard again in the prison, becoming in charge of the prison, only to be forgotten by the cupbearer who looked like his one chance out of there. And yet God was with him. Joseph acknowledged God in all his ways at work, his ways at being honest and being kind, even to tell the cupbearer about his dream. That is so amazing to see God help a man to do the impossible when he keeps getting such bad news. Bad news, but a good God. I want God to be the good news in my life.
As mentioned, we have an emergency weather forecast. Please be advised. We have brought in the most accurate weather forecaster to tell us what will happen. This man is Joseph. He interprets dreams, and this dream comes from the ruler of the land, Pharaoh. Joseph, tell us the weather according to Pharaoh's dreams.
Thank you, Caleb. In the weather, we see large cows, moving in from the south, bringing with them a low front, perfect for crop growing condition for 7 years. After that, we see 7 skinny cows moving in from the north, bringing high temperatures, high winds, and poor conditions for crop growth. The 7 skinny cows will swallow up the 7 large cows, meaning it'll be a severe famine, and we'll have to use up all the food we collected for the 7 good years. Now that's prophetic weather. Back to you, Caleb.
I have never heard of cows predicting the weather, but then again, Joseph is one of the leading leaders when it comes to accurate weather interpretations. This has been your KCOL News Report. I'm Caleb Duickson, signing off. Until next time, stay classy, Canaanites.
It's fun to hear the Bible story in all kinds of ways, but I'm sure it didn't feel very fun for Joseph when it was real life so many years ago. The truth is, Pharaoh did have a couple dreams that he didn't understand, and only Joseph could tell him what they meant. When Pharaoh found out that they were facing 7 years of lots of food, and then another 7 years with no food, well, Pharaoh was smart and pulled Joseph out of prison to make him second in command so he could prepare the country for the coming famine. We all stop and think, wow, that's good news. And it is. But I still think the best news is how God helped Joseph work hard with a good attitude even in the toughest times. Because that is certainly not normal for any of us. Bad news, but a good God. Hey, Alejandro, we're doing a news.
Oh, we're back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, I am Osimo Odette reporting from Kid Church Online News.
And I'm cameraman Alejandro.
Today we learn about Joseph, and he's from the book of Genesis.
That's the first book in the Bible.
If you have some bad news, you might want to have prayer. And we would love to pray for you. So you can send email at kidschurch@mysouthland.com. Hey? And we love to pray for you. Bad news, but always a good God. Hey?
Remember to thank them for joining us.
Oh yes. Thank you so much for joining us at Kid Church Online. We love to hear from you.
And we hope you had tons of fun.
We'll see you again next week at Kid Church Online for some more good